encoder decoder sequence to sequence architecture. So in the previous lectures we have discussed about simple RNA and the different types of RNA, and then we have discussed about bidirectional RNA, and then we have discussed about LSTM. Okay, so we came to know why do we use them, what are the reasons why we employ bidirectional RNA and LSTM when we have our simple RNA, right? So in this lecture we will be discussing about the encoder decoder sequence to sequence architecture. Okay, the sequence to sequence models, or they are simply called as SEQ to SEQ. I mean, you cannot spell that one, but for writing, we'll write as SEQ to SEQ, but we spell them as sequence to sequence model. Okay. So these sequence to sequence models are the special classes of RNA. So we have discussed about several RNN architectures. Just now we have listed out, right? So for all these RNN architectures, these sequence to sequence model are special class of these recurrent neural network architectures. So why we use this sequence to sequence model? So these sequence to sequence models are used to solve some of the complex language problems. The first thing is machine translation. The second thing is question answering. The third one is creating chatbots. And the fourth one is text summarization. Okay. So if you see here on the screen, we have machine language translation. That is, we give the machine input in one language and it processes this and it gives us the language. I mean, it gives us the output in another language. Here the output language is English, right? So on the bottom, if you see another example, the Google Translate, we have given how are you in English. Now we wanted to translate this in Chinese. Of course, we don't know what these characters mean, but this is the translation of how are you in Chinese. So on the bottom we also have how can we can call that in English, that is ni hao ma. Okay. So from now onwards, if you wanted to talk about how are you in Chinese, you can call ni hao ma. Okay. So it would be a fun thing for us. Okay. Anyways, so this is one of the applications of sequence to sequence models. The next thing is speech recognition. So all the time we'll be asking Google many silly questions. Hey Google, when do you sleep? Hey Google, do you have a boyfriend? Hey Google, can you tell me what is your birthday? So like this, we are going to ask several questions or some silly questions, or sometimes we may ask some useful questions and so on. Okay. So here our Google Assistant is going to recognize our voice. Okay, and it is going to respond for our voice commands or voice instructions. So in speech recognition also we use sequence to sequence models. Next, video captioning. So if you see here on the left side and the right side we have some zebras, right? So these zebras are walking in a field, not just zebras but a herd or a group of zebras are walking in a field. So video captioning can also be done by sequence to sequence models. Next, text summarization. So on the left, if you see, a strong analyst have six main characteristics. One should master all six to be successful in the industry. And then we have one, two, so on, blah, blah, blah. So when we give this to the sequence model as input, so it has summarized the text and it said that what is the final summary? Six characteristics of successful analysis. This is what we are meaning for text summarization. And one another most frequently used example we all of us know is chatbots, isn't it? So whenever we open a website, or simply if you open a Lenskart website, or if you simply open some another website, we'll be having some chatbots. Okay, so those chatbots are going to interact with us, right? So hi, welcome to Lenskart. So how can I help you? So we wanted to ask some question. I wanted to buy a blue lens, I mean blue cut lens today. So then it is going to give you some answer that is basing upon your question. So here we ask how are you doing today? Okay. So it is telling an answer. I am doing well, thank you. How are you doing today? So this is how chatbots are going to interact with the humans who are interacting with that particular website, right? So these are all the different applications of the sequence to sequence model. Okay. Now, so the sequence to sequence models, as we have seen, they are used as a solution for any sequence based problem. Any sequence based problem means in all the examples which we have seen, here we have, there are different sizes of inputs and outputs, and we have different categories of inputs and outputs. See, if you see, for the sequence model in the text summarization, we have one size and the output is another size. And for chartboard, we have one size and the output is another size. So we have different sizes and different categories of inputs and outputs, right? So for this kind of applications or for this kind of problems, we can implement the sequence to sequence model. Okay. So what is the main aim of sequence to sequence model means? So they aim to map a fixed length input with a fixed length output. Okay, so just now we saw that we have different inputs and different outputs, and why again we are calling it as fixed length input and fixed length output. So by fixed length input and fixed length output means, if you see here in this example, what are you doing today? Okay, so we wanted to translate this from English to the Chinese language. So here in English it has a fixed length of 5 words. Okay, and then we have a fixed length of output as 7 symbols. Okay, so at this moment of time, at this instant of time, this input is 5 words is fixed and the output 7 words is fixed. So that is what we call it as, it is going to map fixed length input and fixed length output, but where the length of the input and output is different, because the length of the input is 5 and the length of output is 7. For the next example, let us say, okay, today is NNDL class, so today is NNDL class, so 4. Okay, so then if we convert again that into some Chinese or some Hindi or Telugu, ee roju NNDL taragati. So this is how we get different words, that is different combination of words in from translating one language to another language. So this is one of the examples. Okay, so if you see here, the sequence to sequence tasks are very challenging. Why these are challenging? Because the size of the input and the size of the output are going to vary. We cannot predict what is the size of the input, or we cannot predict what is the size of the output, right? So for this reason, they are very challenging tasks. So to tackle this kind of many to many sequence prediction problem, so when we discussed about RNN, we have discussed about one to one, one to many, and many to many types of RNN models, right? So to tackle this kind of many to many sequence prediction problem, so the researchers have found out a new way, and that is what we are going to call it as encoder decoder. Okay, so this is encoder decoder model. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about encoder decoder architecture and how it is useful for solving the sequence to sequence problems. Okay, now how the sequence to sequence model works. Let us now see what does this encoder decoder model is and how it is going to work. Okay, so do remember, the sequence to sequence problems can be implemented or can be solved with the encoder decoder model. Okay, that is what I meant to be. Okay, so if you see here in this encoder decoder model, as the name already specifies, okay, it has encoder. The first part is encoder, the second part is encoder vector, and the third part is decoder. So this is the decoder, and this part is encoder. So together this is called as encoder decoder sequence to sequence model, because as it is working on sequence data, it is called as encoder decoder sequence to sequence model. So what we have to remember is, basically the encoder decoder sequence to sequence model consists of three important parts. The first one is encoder, the second one is encoder vector, and the third one is decoder. Okay, now, so as already discussed, we have encoder, we have encoder vector. See, we call this as encoder vector, or also we also call it as intermediate vector, or encoder vector, or hidden vector. So we can call this in any of these three terms: intermediate vector, or encoder vector, or hidden vector. So most of the times we refer it as either hidden vector or encoder vector. Okay, and the last one is decoder. So now what does this encoder do? So we provide this, the input sequence to the encoder, right? So now the encoder is going to convert the input sequence into a single dimensional vector. If you see here, this is our encoder. Now this input sequence will be converted from by this encoder into a single dimensional vector. If you see, this is our encoder vector, right? So now this encoder converts the given input sequence into a single dimensional vector, and that is what we are calling it as encoder vector. Okay, Now what decoder will do? Now the decoder will convert this hidden vector. See, from encoder, the final output is encoder vector. Now the input, the first and foremost input for the decoder is also encoder vector. So what decoder will do? The decoder will convert this encoder vector or hidden vector into the final output sequence which we require. Okay. Now let us now discuss in detail about encoder and how does it do this works. Okay, if you see, the encoder is consisting of RNN cells, that is recurrent neural network cells. Here we have 3 units of RNN cells, that is, so we can join multiple RNN cells. So when we discussed about RNN and then we have gone for uh, bidirectional RNN and then we have discussed about LSTMs and then we also said that we have GRUs, gated recurrent units also. So for better performance, you can replace these simple RNNs with either LSTM or we can also replace them with GRUs. Okay, so for better performance, you can put LSTM or GRUs in place of simple RNN. Okay, now so these multiple RNN cells are stacked together to form the encoder. So how encoder is formed here? See, this is one RNN unit, this is second RNN unit, and this is third RNN unit. Okay, so these multiple RNNs and RNN cells are stacked together. They are combined together to form, which is nothing but encoder. Okay, and also RNN reads each input sequentially, that is one after the other. So when we are discussing about RNN, we told that it works with respect to time, that is with time steps. Okay, so for every time step t, so if you take for time step t, the hidden state or the hidden vector is updated according to the input at time step x of I. So if you see here at time step t1, okay, this is our input. At time step t2, this is our input x2. At time step t3, this is our input x3. Okay, so for every time step, now this hidden vector, if you see here, this is our hidden vector or encoder vector, right? So this encoder vector, this one, this encoder vector is now updated, okay, according to the input at time step xi. That is, for at time step t1, x1 will be given, it will be updated. And then at time step t2, x2 will be given and it will be updated. And at time step t3, it will be given, x3 will be given and it is updated. Okay. Now, so after all the inputs are read by the encoder model, that is, when we give the complete sequence of words to the encoder model, the final hidden state of the model represents the context or summary of the whole input sequence. Okay, so if you see here, this is one word we have given, this is another word, and this is another word. So after completing the complete input, so the final encoder vector which we got here, the final encoder vector which we got here, it represents what? The complete context or the complete summary of the whole input sequence. Okay, so if you take for example the input sequence, I am a student. So we want this sentence to be encoded by the encoder. Okay, so how many words are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4 words are there. Okay, so how many time steps will we have? 4 time steps. As we are having 4 tokens, we have 4 time steps for this encoder model. Okay, so at each time step t, okay, the hidden state h will be updated using the previous hidden state and the current input. Okay, so we already discussed in the previous classes, the hidden state ht will be updated by previous hidden state, that is h t minus 1 comma current input xi. So this is how we are updating the current hidden state, right? So this is how we are going to update the current hidden state with the help of the previous hidden state and the current input. Okay, now, so if you take here for the first time step, that is a time step t1, okay, what will be the time step for time step t1? What will be the previous hidden state? Obviously ht minus 1. Ht minus 1 means h0 or h0. Okay, so this h0 initially will be considered as 0 or it can be chosen randomly. So if you see here at time step t1, the previous hidden state for this one is h0. Okay, so here we have two things, h0 and c0, that is h0 or c0. h0 means the hidden state 0, c0 means self state. Because we discussed in LSTM, we have two types of state, that is hidden state and self state. So if you are not aware of that, please refer to this LSTM lecture. Okay, so what now we'll see, the first RNN cell, Which is the first RNN cell here? This one. This is the first RNN cell. Now it updates this current hidden state with the first input and H0. So this is the first RNN cell. Now it updates its current hidden state. What will be its current hidden state? H1, right? So how it is going to update this H1? With the help of the input. This is the first input, X1. And what is the other input? It is H0. So with the help of X1 and with the help of H0, it is going to update the current hidden state, which is nothing but H1. Okay. Now, after this, every layer or each layer is going to output two things. What are those two things? If you see on the diagram, it is going to output two things. What is the first thing? Updated hidden state. Okay. Every RNN unit is going to produce one output, that is updated hidden state. And the second thing is output for each stage. Okay. So for this stage, that is for RNN unit 1, the output is Y1. For RNN unit 2, the output is Y2. For unit 3, Y3. For unit T, YT. Okay. So every unit is outputting two things. First one is updated hidden state, and the second one, updated hidden state, means this. So for this unit H1, for this unit H2, for this unit H3. So these are updated hidden states, and output for each stage means Y1, Y2, Y3 and Y4. But remember, in the encoder, if you see, this is our encoder diagram, right? So in the encoder, okay, we are not going to consider the outputs, that is, we reject the outputs. So if you see here, we got the outputs Y1, Y2, Y3 and so on up to YT. Okay. So what we are going to do, the outputs at each stage are rejected. Okay. Why we are rejecting these outputs? Because the encoder has to send the has to encode the input sequence to the encoder vector. So here we are not going to take these outputs. We are not going to consider, or we are going to reject these outputs. But what we are going to consider? We are going to consider only the hidden states. So what are the hidden states? H1, H2, H3 and so on up to HT. So only these hidden states we are going to consider, and we are not going to consider the outputs of the encoder. Okay. So now we will take all these hidden states, and all these hidden states are propagated to the next layer. That is, this hidden state is propagated to the next layer, and this hidden state is propagated to this layer, and this hidden state is propagated to this layer. And from here, finally, after completing all the hidden states, now all these complete context or summary will be given to the encoder vector. Okay. Now, so the hidden state Hi is computed using the formula, or HT, simply we will call it as. So for the hidden state HT, it will be calculated as a function of WHH HT minus 1. So what is WHH? The weight at that particular recurrent neuron and the previous state HT minus 1 plus the weight at that particular input neuron and the current input XT. So this is how we calculate the hidden state. Okay, this already we looked after in the previous RNN class itself. Okay. So now, so till now we have discussed about time step T1. Now at time step T2, what we'll do? At time step T2, that is at this particular time. Okay, what happens? Hidden state H1, okay, and the second input X2 will be given as the input, and what will be the output? The hidden state H2 will be the output, and we are going to get the Y2 also as output, right? So this happens for all the other states, and for the next time step T3, the same thing happens at this RNN. At time step T, the same thing happens at this RNN. Finally, we get the HT and CT values. Okay. So now, if you see here, as already told, we can have these RNNs are either LSTM or GRUs, right? So if we consider this as LSTM, okay. So what happens? The LSTM reads the data one sequence after the other. We already know this, okay. It reads the sequence after sequence, that is one word after another word or one sequence after the other. So if the input sequence length is T, then LSTM reads the input in how many number of time steps? It reads in T number of time steps. So if you see, Xi means the input sequence at time step I, that is X1, the input sequence at time step 1, X2, input sequence at time step 2, X3, input sequence at time step 3, XT, input sequence at time step T. Okay. Now, what about this HI and CI? HI and CI, as already discussed, we know that LSTM maintains two states, H for the hidden state and C for the cell state. Okay. So when these both hidden state and cell state are combined together, these are called as the internal states of the LSTM at a time step I. So H0 and C0 are the internal states of this LSTM. H1 and C1 are the internal states of this LSTM. H2 and C2 are the internal states of this one. So like this, okay, we are going to get. And what is the final thing? Yi, that is Y1, Y2, Y3, so on, Yt up to here we get the output. Okay, so this is all about how the encoder is going to work. Next, coming to the next part, the second part is encoder vector. So till now we have discussed about encoder, right? So this is encoder, and this is our point of discussion now, encoder vector. So what is encoder vector? This is the final hidden state. So if you see here, in the first unit we have one hidden state coming from here, and from second unit we are getting another hidden state, and from the third unit we are getting the another hidden state. So every time this encoder vector is being updated, right? We have already discussed. So the final hidden state is produced from the encoder part of the model. So for this encoder vector, the input is the final hidden state of this particular encoder. Okay. So how this final hidden state is calculated? Just now we discussed as a function of WHH xt minus 1 plus WHX xt. So what does this encoder vector do? This is our encoder vector. So what does this encoder vector do? This vector aims to encapsulate the information for all input elements. So we have input elements x1, x2, x3. So as the name specifies, this vector converts all the input elements and it encapsulates and it helps the decoder to make accurate predictions. Okay, so the prediction done by the decoder depends upon the values it gets from the encoder vector. So here encoder vector is very important. That is, the prediction which is done by this decoder mainly depends, completely depends upon the encoder vector, because here encoder vector is the input for the decoder. Okay, so finally this encoder vector acts as the initial hidden state for the decoder. See, this is the decoder, right? So for this decoder, it is taking the value from the encoder. So this encoder vector acts as the initial hidden state for this decoder part. Okay. Now let us see decoder. So this is our decoder. So simply if you see, we are getting the first arrow here, right? So this is our first arrow. Okay. So this first arrow is nothing but the initial hidden state this decoder is getting from the encoder vector. Okay. So getting a correct value from the encoder vector is very much needed for this decoder to correct the or predict the correct output. Okay. Now coming to the decoder part also, it is also having a stack of several units. Okay, so every unit predicts an output yt. Okay, for a given time step t, for a given time step 1, this first RNN unit predicted output y1, and this has predicted the output y2. Okay, now the input for this decoder, as already discussed, the input for this decoder is the final hidden vector obtained at the end of the encoder model. So this is what, at the end of the encoder vector, the input for this decoder is lying. Okay, so the final hidden vector of the encoder vector is the first hidden state of this RNN. Okay, for the decoder RNN. Now coming to the decoder part, every recurrent unit, this is one recurrent unit, second recurrent unit, third one, and fourth one, and fifth recurrent unit, right? So every recurrent unit, what does it accept? Obviously, it accepts the hidden state from the previous unit ht minus 1 and the previous layer output yt minus 1. So this is the first unit, right? So it is accepting the hidden state from the previous unit. So for the decoder part, for the first unit, what is the previous hidden state? The previous hidden state will be the encoder vectors. Final hidden state will be the H0 for this RNN. Okay. Now C0, we know that this is the cell state. Okay, combinedly H0 and C0 we call it as internal state. Okay, what is the second input? What is the second input for this recurrent unit? The previous layer output. Do we have any previous layer output for this RNN in the output one? No, it does not have anything, right? So the previous layer output we do not have it. Okay, but for coming to the second one, if you see for the second one, what does this unit accept? This unit accepts the previous hidden state. What is the previous hidden state? H1. Okay, it accepts H1. Okay, And then what does it accept? It accepts the output from the previous layer. So this previous layer output y1 will be accepted from here to here. Okay, so it accepts y1 from the previous layer and the previous hidden state h1. Okay, now what does the unit produces? One recurrent unit, what does it produces? An output. So it produces an output y2, and then what does it produces? It produces its own hidden state. So it produces its own hidden state, which is given for the next RNN unit. So this is how it does these things. Okay, now so here the hidden state ht is computed using this formula as a function of WHH into HT minus 1. Now, so at the first layer, what actually happens is the output vector of the encoder and the random symbol start. So this is the first layer. This is our first layer, right? So what will be the input here? The output vector of the encoder vector. The output vector of the encoder vector, and initially it will be having start symbol because this is the initial unit in the decoder. We have the start symbol. Okay. So here we have empty hidden state, right? So initially we do not have any hidden state for this one. We have empty hidden state, and this is ht minus 1, and at time t we get this ht minus 1. What will be the output? The output will be y1 and the hidden state h1 from this unit. Okay. So this happens at the first layer. And what happens at the second layer? At the second layer, this hidden state h1 will be given to this second layer, that is second RNN, and the previous output y1 will be given to this one. Okay. Now what is the current input? Now the previous output y1 will be given as the current input. So finally it produces what? The hidden vector h2 and the output y2. Now, so the outputs which are occurred at each time step of the decoder is the actual output. So what will be our actual outputs now? This y1 is our actual output, y2, y3, and so on up to yt. So if we observe the same thing, we have also outputs in the encoder part, but we are rejecting those outputs. Those are not actual outputs. Only the hidden states will be propagated to the next layers. But here in the decoder part, the actual outputs are y1, y2, so on up to yt. Okay. Now, and the model will predict this output until the end symbol occurs. If you see, this is our end symbol. So the model is going to predict this output until it encounters the end symbol. So it starts with the start symbol and it stops until it encounters the end symbol. Okay. Next, coming to the output layer. Finally, what we are going to do, so we pass all these things through the softmax activation function. So we already discussed right from previous classes that we use softmax activation function for probability distribution, right? So it is used to produce the probability distribution. For all the given vector of values we get, it uses the probability distribution to tell the target class of which is having high probability. So it tells us the target class which is having as the high probability, right? So if you see here, the output at time step t is calculated using the softmax activation function, which is passed with ws and ht. Okay, we know that ht is the current time step hidden state and ws is the respective weight for that particular neuron. Okay, so let us see an example. If you see here, John is hardworking. So here we have a start symbol and then we have an end symbol. Okay, so here the thing is that the initial state h0, c0 of the decoder are set to the final states of the encoder. This is what we have discussed, right? The final state of the encoder, okay, will be the initial state of the decoder. That means the decoder is trained to start generating the output sequence depending upon what? The information encoded by the encoder. So basing upon the information which is encoded by the encoder, the decoder is going to generate that particular output. It is being trained on the information encoded by the encoder. So obviously after training we will be having loss, right? So the loss is calculated based on the predicted output at each time step, and the error is back propagated through time. So in RNN we discussed about back propagation. So always we refer to the back propagation in RNN as back propagation through time. Okay, so we update the parameters and we try to reduce the error. Okay, so finally training this sequence to sequence encoder decoder model for a longer period with sufficiently large amount of data or training data will give us a good prediction. Okay, so this is all about encoder decoder sequence to sequence model. Okay,